Hi, good day everyone. I am Angeline Ruiz and my topic is all about Marxist criticism or Marxist literary criticism. It is the fifth topic under theoretical approaches. So, first, what is Marxist criticism? Marxist criticism is both a theoretical approach and a conversational genre within academic discourse. Critics using this framework analyze literature and other cultural forms through the lens of Marxist theory, which includes an exploration of how economic and social structures influence ideology and cultures. So, Marxist criticism, kapag sinabi pong Marxist criticism, it is a way of looking at books or movies by focusing on the social status of the characters. Sinasabi sa Marxist criticism kung sino yung may kapangyarihan at kung sino yung wala. Kung gaano kayaman o kung gaano kahirap yung mga tao na pinapakita sa isang movies or books. So, ang example dito is sa Cinderella. A Marxist critic might say it shows class struggles. Cinderella is a poor and treated badly, while the rich stepmother and the stepsisters have control. So, igwa siya ning duwang philosopher thinker. First is si Karl Marx. He was a 19th century German philosopher who became a 19th of the young Hegelians and later the Communist League. Marx is revered as one of the most influential socialist thinkers of the 19th century. Some of his most notable works are The German Ideology in 1846 and the Communist Manifesto in 1848, and last is the Das Kapital in 1867. So, example of his works naman, sa sinasabi niya sa mga works niya, example is, if a company pays a workers very little but makes a lot of money, Marx would say this is unfair and shows a class problem. So next is si Friedrich Engels. Engels was pretty much Marx's best friend. He shared Marx's socialist belief and provided support financially as well as intellectually while Marx developed his theories. Some of his major works were The Condition of the Working Class in England in 1844, and he is also a co-authored The Communist Manifesto in 1848 of Karl Marx. So, sa mga works niya naman, sinasabi niya naman na Engels studied poor people in England and wrote about how badly they lived and worked. So, why does Marxist criticism matter? Marxist criticism matter thus emphasizes classes, socioeconomic status, power relations among various segments of society, and the representation of those segments. Marxist literary criticism is valuable because it enables readers to see the role that class plays in the plot of a text. So, Marxist criticism priorities four foundational Marxist concepts. The first one is the class struggle. So, sa class struggle, may duwa lang siyang two main groups, which is the rich people and the workers. Sa alienation naman, the alienation of the individual under capitalism, meron ito yung feeling disconnected of the workers or feeling like a robot at work. Kumbaga, the workers often don't feel unhappy or proud of what they make. They don't control their job, don't own what they make, and just do the same thing every day. This makes people feel like are not themselves anymore. So, number three naman is yung base. The relationship between a society's economic base. So, dito naman, ang meaning nito is the economic system of how money, work, and products are organized. So, this includes factories, jobs, tools, and money, basically how things are made and who owns them. So, Marx says that the base controls everything else in the society. So, yung pinaka-last is its cultural superstructure. Cultural superstructure is the ideas, the beliefs, and the cultures on the top of the economy. This includes things like education, religion, media, laws, arts, and even books. Marx says the superstructure helps the rich stay in power by spreading ideas that make the system look normal or fair. So next is the critics of Karl Marx. First is George Lucas. He is the reflectionism or the vulgar Marxism. Believe that the text will reflect the society that has produced it. Stressed that the historical approach is different from reflections. Reflectionists attribute and separation that they discover to the ills of the capitalism. So si George Lucas naman, he said that stories showed what society is really like. Kung ano ba talaga yung pinaka-pinofocus ng mga society sa isang story. So, si Althusser naman is si Louis Althusser naman, sinasabi niya naman dito na argued that literature and art affect society, believed that the working class is manipulated to accept the ideology of the dominant one. So Jameson and Eagleton's theories are intertwined and not just one-sided. Dito naman is, ang sinasabi niya dito, people are trained to accept unfair system without realizing it. So for example, in Harry Potter, house elves serves wizards without being paid. So Althusser would say they are taught to accept these roles. So next is the definition of terms. First is the bourgeoisie, the name given by Marx to the owners of the means of production in a society. So kapag sinabi nating bourgeoisie, it is the rich people who own businesses. For example, a factory owner. So kapag sinabi naman nating ideology, a belief system. It is a set of belief. Like for example, believing hard work always leads to success, and even if the system is unfair. So, yung next is proletariat. So, dito naman, it is the working people. Kung yung bourgeoisie is the owner, yung proletariat naman is the working people. So next is the capitalism is an economic system that is based on private ownership of the means of production and the creation of the goods or services for profit. So ang capitalism naman, it is a system where people own businesses and try to make money. Like for example, a coffee shop owner selling drinks for profit. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng capitalism. So the next one is, what about Marxist criticism? So the Marxist criticism is a belief that literature reflects this class struggle and materialism. It looks at how literature functions about other aspects of the superstructure, particularly other articulation of ideology. So like feminist critics, it investigates how literature can work as a force for social change or as a reaffirmation of existing conditions. Like a new historism, it examines how story influences literature. The difference is, is that Marxism focuses on the lower classes. So it aims, so it begs to answer these questions about the work. So, the first one is, what is the economic status of the characters? So, it says there of what kind of life do the characters live? Kung mayaman ba sila, kung mahirap, or nasa middle lang ba? So, second is, what happens to them as a result of this status? If they suffer or succeed because they are poor or rich. So how do they fare against economic political odds? Do they struggle or fight back against unfair treatment, unfair money, or power systems? So next is, what other conditions stemming from their class does the writer emphasize? So does the character or the story show problems that come from being rich or poor? Next is, to what extent does the work fail by overlooking the economic, social, and political implications of its material? And or did the story ignore or fail to show how money, power, or society affects the characters? So next, in what other ways does economic determinism affect the work? So, how does money and class shape the events in the story? So, number 7 is, how should the readers consider this story in today's developed or undeveloped world? If how the story connected to today's real world, whether in rich or poor countries. So next is the general principles of Marxist criticism. So the first one, it promotes the idea that the literature should be a tool in the revolutionary struggle. So it says that in some stories can help fight against unfair systems and inspire people to have a change. So next, it attempts to clarify the relationship of literature, of literary work to social reality. Kumbaga, it tries to show how this story reflects to the real life and to the society. So next is it is a political nature. Kumbaga, it deals with power, control, and who has the more or less in the society. Kasi nga, nasa Marxist criticism tayo. So next, it aims to arrive at an interpretation of literary texts to define the political dimensions of literary work. Kumbaga, it tries to find out what is the story says about power, politics, and class. So next is, it believes that the literary work has always a relationship to society. Kumbaga, every story is connected to real life society in some way. And it judges literature by how it represents the main struggles for power going on at that time. and how it may influence those struggles. Kumbaga, stories are judged based on how they show and fight for power or control in the world and how they might affect that fight. So next is it highlights the Lord's solution from the critic. Kumbaga, it praises ideas or solutions to the readers and suggests to fix problems shown in the story. So next is how to analyze literary text using Marxist approach. The first one is approach the text with an eye for how the characters interact. Marxist thought relies on relationship between individuals, and even those aspects of relationships that are social can be part of a Marxist critique. Kumbaga, it look closely at how characters treat each other. So Marxist or the Marxism focuses on the relationship, especially on social ones like class, power, or the status of the character. So next is evaluate the vocational rules of the characters. The Marxist critique includes a focus on a class system where the vocations of characters provide the most direct reference to their place within this system. Look at the level of luxury that each individual has and how much they have to work. Kumbaga, it look at what jobs or roles the characters have. This tells us their place in the class system, if they are a rich or poor. Also notice how comfortable their lives are and how hard they need to work. So sa number 3, look at how characters use their free time. So part of the Marxist critique, it based on the argument that individuals can use free time productively. Examine the free choices of individuals is actually a large part of Marxist literary criticism. Kumbaga, in this analyzation naman, it's see how they spend their time when they are not working. So sa Marxist critics, it says this shows their freedom and choices in life. Kumbaga, what people do in their free time helps us understand their social situation. So number 3, 4, assess the role of the government in the piece of literature. Is it draconian or laissez-faire? Kumbaga, kailangan mo magtanong if what is the government like in the story? Is it strict or does it let people do what they want? Yan yung ibig sabihin ng number 4. Marxism studies how the government controls or helps the people. So it checks if the government supports fairness or favors the rich and the powerful. So the last one is use Marxist writers as a guide. Pick ideas outlined by Marxist writers of past eras and apply them to your particular studies. Kumbaga, you need to look at what famous Marxist thinkers like ngaya si Karl Marx and si Friedrich Engels. So, sinda, ang sinasabi ninda is all about the classes, the society, and the power. So, use their ideas to help and you understand the story you are reading. So that would be all on my part. Thank you.